September 6, 1976, 1 p.m. local time, Chuguyevka Air Base, Primorsky Krai, Soviet Union. The sky above the Far East was clear, controlled, predictable. At least, that's what the system believed. On the runway, a MiG-25 Foxbat sat armed, fueled, and ready, one of the fastest and most secretive interceptor aircraft the Soviet Union had ever built. Inside the cockpit, Lieutenant Viktor Belenko followed routine with mechanical precision. Every switch, every dial, every procedure was familiar. Nothing about this day was supposed to stand out, and yet everything about it would. The MiG-25 was not just another aircraft. It was a symbol of Soviet technological dominance, designed to outrun threats, to climb beyond reach, to intercept anything that dared approach. For years, Western intelligence had speculated about its true capabilities: speeds, radar systems, materials, weapons. All of it was wrapped in layers of secrecy and assumption. The aircraft was feared because it was unknown. And now, one man sat inside it, preparing to take off with knowledge no outsider had ever possessed. Belenko lifted into the air as ordered, joining a routine training flight. From the outside, nothing was unusual, a Soviet pilot executing a standard sortie over controlled territory. But inside the cockpit, something had already shifted. This was not a mission. This was a decision that had been forming quietly, building under layers of discipline, ideology, and expectation. A decision that could not be undone once it crossed a certain point. Minutes into the flight, Belenko broke formation. At first, it looked like deviation, a minor correction, something that could be explained, corrected, ignored. But then the radar operators noticed the trajectory.
Brake right now.
The angle was wrong.
We have multiple proximity
alerts. The speed was
alerts.
increasing. The aircraft was not returning. It was leaving. Inside Soviet radar rooms, confusion arrived first, not panic. Signals flickered across screens. Officers leaned forward. Commands were issued, calm but firm. Contact him, redirect him, identify the issue. But there was no response. No correction, no hesitation. Belenko was descending. At high altitude, the MiG-25 was visible, trackable, predictable. But now he pushed the aircraft lower, skimming beneath radar coverage, reducing detection, exploiting the very system he had trained within. This was not impulsive. It was calculated. Every movement suggested preparation, not confusion. And that realization began to spread through the command structure like a slow, unwelcome truth. This was not an error. This was a defection. The Soviet Union was not just losing a pilot. It was losing one of its most classified weapons in real time across an invisible border that could not be crossed back. Fuel became the next enemy. The MiG-25 was powerful, but it was not built for long-range escape at low altitude. Every second mattered.
Mayday, mayday,
Every
mayday.
kilometer burned
We have a
fuel that
fuel
could determine
emergency.
whether this
Preparing for
decision
flame
ended
out.
in success or disaster. Below him stretched the vast uncertainty of the open sea. Ahead, the coast of Japan. Behind him, a system that was beginning to understand what was happening, but could not stop it. Interception was no longer possible. By the time the magnitude of the situation became clear, Belenko had already passed the point where reaction could match intention. He was alone in the sky, moving toward a country that did not expect him, carrying secrets that had never been exposed. September 6, 1976, 1:50 p.m., Hakodate Airport, Japan. On the ground, the day was ordinary. Civilian flights, routine operations, controlled schedules. Then something appeared on approach that did not belong. A fast-moving military jet, descending aggressively, entering airspace without clearance, without communication, without explanation. There was no protocol for this, no expectation. Just a sudden intrusion into controlled calm. Belenko was running out of fuel. The runway at Hakodate was shorter than what the MiG-25 required. The aircraft was not designed for this kind of landing, not under these conditions, not with this level of risk. But there were no alternatives left. He committed. The jet came in fast, too fast. Tires slammed onto the runway, brakes strained under impossible force. The aircraft overshot, tearing through the end of the runway, stopping only after pushing beyond its intended limits. Smoke, heat, silence. For a moment, nothing moved. Then the cockpit opened. A Soviet pilot stepped out of one of the most secret aircraft in the world, on foreign soil, surrounded by confusion, shock, and rapidly escalating tension. He raised his hands, not as a pilot completing a mission, but as a man crossing into something entirely irreversible. Within hours, the reality began to unfold. Japanese authorities secured the area. The United States was notified. And somewhere inside Soviet command, the full weight of what had just happened settled in. Not just a defection, not just a loss, an exposure. The MiG-25 was examined. Piece by piece, assumption turned into fact. Western analysts finally saw what had been hidden behind speculation. The aircraft was fast, yes, but not in the way they had feared. Its construction revealed compromises, unexpected design choices, limitations that contradicted years of intelligence estimates. The myth began to fracture under observation, and at the center of it all was Viktor Belenko, a single pilot who had taken a machine designed for interception and used it for escape. A man who had navigated not just geography, but ideology, risk, and consequence in a decision that unfolded in less than an hour, but reshaped understanding on a global scale. The aircraft was eventually returned to the Soviet Union, disassembled, analyzed, its secrets no longer intact, its mystery reduced. But the moment itself could not be reversed. Because this was never just about a plane. It was about the precise moment when control slipped. When a system built on secrecy was exposed, not through war, not through espionage networks, but through one man sitting in a cockpit, choosing a different direction and acting before anyone could stop him. How a routine training flight became an international incident. How a classified weapon became evidence. How one decision, made in silence at high altitude, changed what the world believed about power, technology, and control. And how, for a brief window of time, one man flying alone carried the weight of an entire system and chose to leave it behind.